I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe
Yes,
me.
that's it.
Take into your hands a plan your own.
You know what? The biggest attraction of the stock market is the return it gives. It's very luring. People they flock around the stock market just because of the returns. It's too attractive to let it go, but it's very risky as well. You know what? The returns, they are so attractive, they're so lucrative that many try and try their luck, or come to the market to try their luck and see what happens if they can make a very quick buck out of it. This is the exact reason why you see thousands and thousands of people without even knowing anything, without even knowing what the stock market is and how it works. They simply come in, put in some money, try a couple of trades, definitely make the loss, and they move out completely. And they develop a notion that the market is bad. Is it really bad? We'll see. Let's see. Now see, in our last video, we discussed how you can be action-oriented. Okay? To win in this market, you have to be action-oriented. And how you can be action-oriented is what we discussed in the last video. If you haven't seen it, it's there in the playlist. Also, I'll try and give it in the V card at the end. You can have a look at it. Now that you have crossed that video and you have come to this video, if you have seen that video and you have come here, now it's your turn to be action-focused. You have to be focused in what you're doing. Before focusing into the market, one aspect of the market that we have already discussed in our previous video is you have to understand the market. You have to learn the market to understand what's going on. You have to learn the tricks of the trade. Why is it required? Why is it required to learn the market? Because the market is going to trick you in many different ways. Sudden spikes, sudden dips, setup trades, panic, crash, whatnot. You think of anything and everything happens in the market. It is haphazard. It's a place which is not at all stable. You cannot predict what's going to come up next. Now, these things that I've just discussed, the panic, the spikes, the crash, the setup trades, the sudden fall, the sudden dip, the sudden rise, all these things, if you are in the market, you cannot ignore these things. You cannot just close your eyes and say, okay, fine, let it happen, what's happening. If you're trading, if you're in the market, you have to be aware of this. And it's very, very difficult once you put your money into the market, when your money is there in a stock, and these things are happening behind you, and your money is fluctuating, it's going up by 20%, 30%, it's going down by 20, 30%. It's a very, very tense scenario. You just cannot neglect a scenario like this. You will involve your time, you will involve your energy to try and understand why these things are happening and what best you can do about it. But the problem is, being in the market, having your money in the market, it is really, really very difficult for anybody to neglect these situations. If you're outside the market, you do not have your money in the market, it's fine. You're absolutely game. You can just see them and forget it. You can say, oh my goodness, Russia hits Ukraine, that's fine. Oh my goodness, pandemic hits, that's fine. Everything is fine for you because you're not in the market. Your investments are not moving haywire. Your investments are not there in the market in the first place. So you're not bothered what's happening. So that's the only scenario you can just simply neglect all of these and move on. But if you are, it's really very difficult. Now let me tell you a tendency. Whenever you make a trade, the tendency of any individual, any person is to make a profit out of it. This is the natural tendency. This is a natural human tendency. You, me, everybody, whoever has invested in the market, the natural outcome, the natural answer for any investment, the natural answer to it would be, I want to make profit out of it. It's very simple. It's the human tendency. But make profit, which means you're focusing on the price. You're focusing on the price appreciation of the stock. So you're focusing on the price that you would get out of this trade. But it's very, very easy to falter when you have your money into the market. When you have your money into the market and these things are happening, sudden rise, sudden dip, massacre outside, pandemic, possible recession news coming in, Russia hits Ukraine or any other country involved in a war, maybe your own country gets involved in some war or the other. These are panic situations. It's very easy to falter in such scenarios. And to make matters worse, if you have been criticized in the past for making a wrong trade or doing anything, doing something wrong in the market, you become more determined to prove yourself that you're right. It's your ego that tells you that you have to prove right to the critics. All those who criticized you, all those who said no to you, all those who were against you, all this while, you have to defeat every one of them, and come out as a winner. And mind it, the turmoil is still there. The sudden dips, sudden rise, panic, pandemic, all of these are still at the back of your mind. Those are external events. You cannot think, you cannot do anything about it. But the internal event is your ego to prove yourself right. That creeps in and tells you, if I win this game, if I win this trade, I'll make a big buck. I can then stand in front of my critics, my friends, my family, whoever has criticized me all this while. I can stand in front of them and say, this is why I told you that the stock market is good. This is why I believe the stock market. This is why the stock market is the greatest field in this world. Maybe it is, but this is not how you prove it. Now, this tendency to defeat your critics, to prove yourself right and prove them wrong, this tendency to defeat your critics is the biggest driving force that keeps you in the market, that consistently keeps you taking a trade and possibly making faulty decisions and lose on it. See, your mindset is good, but it should be backed by proper study and proper analysis and not by impulse trading. Trading to prove yourself right and the critics wrong is trading for the prize money, and it's not trading for the trade itself. What it does is it takes your focus off the trade and puts it on the prize. It's very, very subtle. See, try and understand the difference. You're making a trade, of course, to make a profit out of it, but you're focusing on the profit. You're not focusing on the trade. You see the difference? You're doing something, and you're not concentrating on that something, but you're concentrating on the results. This is the difference. Concentrate on the work, concentrate on the trade, not on the results. This happens because your ego has told you that you have to defeat your critics. You have to defeat them. You have to tell them that the decision that you have taken is right and they were wrong. And that's the reason why you are focusing on the price, because that's your prime importance now. Your prime importance is to make profit out of this trade, in whatever way it's possible. And that's the reason why your focus shifts from the trade to the profit, to the price, to the price appreciation, whatever you think of, however you think of it. And when this happens, you deviate from a trade-based transaction to a price-based transaction. Okay? And what is this called? Trade-based transaction is an action. A price-based transaction is a gamble. So when you shift from your trade-based transaction to a price-based transaction, you're shifting from trading to gambling, to speculating. See the subtle difference. I'm sure many of you listening to this video or seeing this video would identify this fact that if you're in the market, if you're new and if you're in the market and if you're trying to make a trade, you almost always think at the back of your mind, okay, fine, I bought this at 100 rupees. I'll move out when it's a profit. I'll move out when it's a profit. I'll move out when it's a profit. You will not move out when it's a profit. You will move out when it's time to move out. See, this is the mindset. This is the mindset. Did you find the difference when actually you shifted yourself from a trader to a gambler? Were you able to identify the time when this happened with you? Were you able to identify when things changed in your mind and you never realized that you are actually shifting your trade from a trade-based transaction to a price-based transaction? You have shifted yourself from a trader to being a gambler, to being a speculator. This swift movement is not noticeable to majority of the people. No one, almost none of us notices it. And that's the reason why I make this video, to help you understand, help you realize that price is always the secondary factor in the market. Market and the trade, understanding the market is always the primary factor in the market. Understanding and knowing the market and knowing what to do in what scenario and taking the right decision, the right action and at the right moment is what is more important than the price, than the profits, than satisfying your ego to defeat your critics and whatever you think of it. So that is the most important thing. And you know, the worst part is, if you're new in the market, and this is mostly the case with newcomers, that they don't understand between trading and gambling, a trade-based transaction and a price-based transaction. And when they swiftly shift themselves to being a gambler or to being a speculator, they speculate, they gamble, they lose the trade, they do it again, they make the same mistake again, they again lose it. Maybe they give a last try, third, fourth try, the last one probably. By that time, they have almost finished the capital they have come with. And when everything goes off, they say, this market is bad. It's a gamble. Stock market is a gamble. It is not a real world. Is it? Is the stock market gamble, or is it you who is gambling? Did the stock market falter, or is it you who faltered? Did the stock market take any decision, or is it you who took a decision to gamble? Did the stock market tell you to gamble, or is it you who told yourself to gamble? Did the stock market shift you from being a trader to a gambler, or is it you who shifted yourself from being a trader to a gambler? Now take the flip side of it. Say you make a trade, even I wouldn't say a trade. You make a gamble because you have already shifted your mindset, and you win somehow. Somehow you win. Wow! You think your confidence goes up. Your confidence goes up. You make another trade. You win again. Your confidence goes up again. You make another trade. You win again. Your confidence goes up again. Wow! This market is good. I have not seen anything like this. This is the best thing in this world. Is it? Expectations starts running high, running very, very high. You start boasting off. Hasn't this happened with you before, that you have made a couple of trades, you won them by whatever way you have won those trades, you have made some profits? Hasn't this happened that you have gone back to your friends, your family, your relatives, and probably you have boasted off saying, okay, fine, this is what I've made. I entered the market at this price point on this stock, on this trade, and I exited at this point. I made a mammoth profit out of this. All of us have. All of us. Stories that tell us that people have entered the market with 5,000 rupees and it has gone up to 50,000 rupees in no time. Maybe in a year, or maybe in a couple of months, 6 months or a year, 5,000 became 50,000. Wow. I don't know how they made it. Or maybe 10,000 became 50,000. I don't know how they made it, but they made it and they're proud of it. And these proud moments, they go and share it outside with their friends, their relatives. They boast the stock market is very good. And you know what happens? Since you have boasted so much to your friends and families and relatives, they all start looking at you as, oh my God, this person knows the market. This person has an idea. Expectation starts running high, running very, very high. And on the next trade, when you sit, and when you punch in your trades, the next deal, your confidence is high, very high. Maybe it's the false confidence, but it's still high at its peak. The expectations on you to make a profit out of this particular trade now is the highest. And you know what happens when there is too much of expectation, too much of pressure? It's a scenario similar to Sachin Tendulkar coming on the fields. 1 billion people, or maybe billions of people in India and across the world. What do they expect? A century out of him, right? Every time he has walked into the fields, people expected at least a 50, a half century, if not a century. But definitely, we all love to see him score a century. But was he successful every time? No, he was not. That's the pressure. That's the pressure that starts hitting on you very hard. When things goes right for you for a couple of times, and you build your expectations so high, people think of you as a master in this game, start thinking of you as a master in this game. Your expectation rises so high up that you start building up cracks. That's where you start faltering. It's very, very few people who have very strong nerves like Sachin Tendulkar who can still hold on and deliver and give us 100 centuries. But to do that, he has probably played 700 or 800 matches. So for a great person like Sachin, a 10-15% conversion was success. For a greater person like Warren Buffett, probably his conversion rate would be something like, definitely not 100%. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, definitely not 100%. Radhakishan Damani, definitely not 100%. So for greats like these, when their conversion rate is not 100%, how can people like you and me have a conversion rate of 100%? Is it really possible? So the only thing that is possible is to focus your mindset from being price sensitive to be a trade sensitive or trade focused action. So in doing so, your focus should always be on the trade. The moment you switch yourself from a trade oriented action to a price oriented action, you start making mistakes. The pressure starts building up on you. And it's an undue pressure that is not everyone's cup of tea. Only the greats can handle. I understand. I mean, thinking about profit and it's very exciting. It's very exciting. I don't deny about this at all. But do it after the market hours, not during the market hours. You know what happens when you start thinking of profits during the trade? At times you start thinking that, okay, fine, this much profit is good. If I put in 100 rupees, 105 is good enough, 103 is good enough, I'll come out of it. A 3%, 2% profit is fine for me. This is just a notion. It's just a drop in the ocean. It starts dripping. It starts dripping in your mind. Okay, fine. And this thought, slowly, it captures the entire mind and you start feeling, okay, fine, this is what I have to do. Soon, 1%, 2% profit, which is a good to have profit, it soon becomes a must have profit. 1%, 2% profit is nice to have, soon become, it's a must that I should have 1 to 2% profit. That is where things start spelling disaster for you. And the problem is, you will not notice it's coming. It's very swift. And if you fall for it, the market has now got you dancing on its fingers. So, the crux is trade for the love of trading, not for profits. You will trade more efficiently, more effortlessly, and more effectively. That's all for today. SG signing off. Goodbye.